The Roman Empire was once the most powerful force on earth, but by the late 200s AD, it had grown so vast and unstable that it split in half. Why would the greatest empire of antiquity deliberately divide itself? The answer is a story of chaos, reform, and survival. In this video, we'll uncover the key reasons why Rome divided into East and West. We'll explore the crisis that almost destroyed the empire, the sheer size of its territory, the reforms of Emperor Diocletian, and the cultural and economic divides that made the split inevitable. And by the end, we'll see how this decision shaped history for over 1,000 years. Part 1, The Crisis of the 3rd Century. Rome of the early 200s was still an empire of glory. But under the surface, cracks were spreading fast. From 235 to 284 AD, Rome suffered what historians call the crisis of the 3rd century. In just 50 years, no fewer than 26 emperors claimed the throne. Most died violently, assassinated by rivals or killed in battle. Civil wars between competing generals tore the empire apart. While Roman armies fought each other, enemies took advantage. In the east, the powerful Sassanid Persians raided Roman territory, capturing whole provinces. In the north, Germanic tribes like the Goths and Franks stormed across frontiers, looting cities. In Gaul, local commanders even declared a Gallic empire, separate from Rome. The economy collapsed. The government debased coins with cheap metals, leading to rampant inflation. Trade networks shrank, and famine hit several regions. By the 270s, it seemed possible that the empire might simply break apart forever. Something had to change. Part 2, Geography and Size. Rome's greatest strength, its vast size, was also its greatest weakness. At its height, the empire stretched from the windswept moors of Britain to the deserts of Egypt. It spanned from Spain in the west to Syria in the east, over 5 million square kilometers. 60 to 70 million people lived under Roman rule, but controlling such a huge area was nearly impossible. Communication was painfully slow. A message from Britain could take weeks to reach the emperor in Rome or Antioch. By the time orders arrived, the situation might already be lost. One emperor could not personally lead armies on every frontier. If he defended the Rhine, Persia struck in Syria. If he marched east, barbarians crossed the Danube. The sheer size of Rome demanded a new system of government. Part 3, Diocletian's reforms in 284 AD. A soldier named Diocletian seized power. He was a pragmatic, ruthless, and determined leader. His mission was not to expand Rome, but to save it. His bold solution was the tetrarchy, or rule of 4. Instead of one emperor ruling everything, there would be 2 senior emperors, called Augusti, and 2 junior emperors called Caesars. One pair ruled the western provinces. The other pair ruled the east. Each emperor had their own court, army, and administrative center. This made the empire more flexible. If barbarians invaded Gaul, the western Augustus could respond quickly. If Persia threatened the east, the eastern Augustus was already there. Diocletian also reformed the tax system, reorganized provinces into smaller units, and introduced new administrative layers. He tried to stabilize the economy by issuing new coins with more silver content. He even attempted to control inflation by issuing an edict on maximum prices, though this largely failed. Still, his changes gave the empire breathing room. For the first time in decades, Rome could defend its borders and manage its people without constant collapse. Part 4, Cultural and Economic. Divide asterisk, but the split between East and West was more than just politics. It reflected real differences. In culture and economy, the Eastern Empire was wealthier. Its cities, Alexandria, Antioch, and later Constantinople, were bustling centers of trade. The East controlled the rich provinces of Egypt and Syria, which produced grain, papyrus, and luxury goods. It was also more urbanized and spoke mostly Greek, a language of science, philosophy, and commerce. The Western Empire, by contrast, was poorer. It was more rural, with fewer major cities. It relied heavily on agriculture and on grain shipments from Africa. Latin was dominant, but education levels were lower and economies less diverse. The East could fund strong armies and large bureaucracies. The West often struggled to pay its soldiers. These differences meant that even when united under one emperor, the two halves of Rome were drifting apart. Part 5. From temporary to permanent. Diocletian's tetrarchy collapsed after his retirement. Ambitious generals fought for sole power once again. But the idea of splitting East and West endured. By 395 A.D., under Emperor Theodosius I, the empire was divided permanently between his two sons. The East became the Byzantine Empire, centered in Constantinople. The West continued with Rome and Ravenna as capitals. The consequences were dramatic. The Western Empire faced relentless invasions and economic decline, eventually collapsing in 476 A.D. The Eastern Empire, richer and more defensible, endured for another 1,000 years, preserving Roman law, Greek culture, and Christianity, until the fall of Constantinople in 1453. Conclusion. So why did Rome split in two? Because it was too large, too unstable, and too divided to survive under a single ruler. The crisis of the 3rd century nearly destroyed it. Diocletian's reforms saved it, but at the cost of unity. One empire became two paths of history: a Western Roman Empire that fell to invaders, and an Eastern Roman Empire that carried Rome's legacy deep into the Middle Ages. The Roman Empire did not die in a day. It adapted, divided, and survived in new forms, long after the old capital of Rome had fallen silent. Thanks for watching Imperium Atlas. If you enjoyed this video, check out our deep dive on the Roman Legion, or our short on the fall of Rome. Subscribe for the next chapter in the story of empire.